Here are today's top news stories and why they matter.
White farmers are being brutally killed and their land is being confiscated in South Africa.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to meet his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in Washington next week at a time of strained relations between the two countries. Tuso Kumalo has more on what South Africans expect from the high-stakes meeting.
Most South Africans we spoke to say they want President Ramaphosa to take a firm stance in Washington. With the meeting expected to reset the strategic partnership between the two nations, citizens are calling for a discussion rooted in mutual respect and for the president to defend South Africa's sovereignty. The U.S. administration has openly criticized several of South Africa's policies. Washington suspended certain aid to South Africa and in March expelled South Africa's ambassador. Pretoria, in response, has called Trump's allegations entirely politically motivated and says they undermine South Africa's constitutional democracy.
Sticking to southern parts of the continent, and Malawi has allowed its extended credit facility with the IMF to lapse, ending $100 million financial arrangement many considered vital for economic stability. So what is Extended Credit Facility? Commonly known as ECF, it is a loan program from the International Monetary Fund that provides money to developing nations at very low interest rates. Countries get this money to help fix economic problems, but must follow specific rules about how they manage their economy in return. It's like financial support with strings attached. And what does the bold move by Malawi to allow this facility to end means? Betha Bangara Chikadza, the president of Economics Association of Malawi, puts this into perspective.
It's a decisive decision, I think, that as a country we had to make. Probably also it's one way of showing the IMF that as a country we need a discussion table on the IMF table, so that whenever conditions that accrue to an ECF come, as a country we also have a say.
Now, how do you usually pay your apartment or house rent? Monthly, quarterly, or yearly? Well, in some places like Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, some people find annual payment normal. Yes, one full year upfront. However, the Lagos state government wants to change the rent game. Instead of this heavy one-off payment, they are working on a system where tenants can pay monthly or quarterly instead. Now, I lived in Kenya and partly in Uganda, and many people will tell you that annual rent payments are just not sustainable. So to understand this West African rent system a little better, I caught up with my colleague Ajoa Domina. She knows how rent works across Nigeria and Ghana. So, Ajoa, I hear it's normal to pay for a whole year upfront in Nigeria and even in Ghana.
Absolutely normal. In Nigeria and Ghana, we have landlords who take sometimes up to 2 years, even though the rent laws for both Ghana and Nigeria strictly say you can't take more than 6 months.
And what are we talking about in terms of cost? For example, how much is one bedroom in a place like Lagos?
Well, you can pay as much as 5 million naira, over $3,000, or as low as 800,000 naira, close to $500 for one bedroom apartment in Lagos, depending mostly on your location, the size of the apartment, and its features.
So do people often default?
Yeah, it's quite normal, especially when it's time to renew the rent. The economy in the pockets of the majority is not as favorable to be able to cough up like 5 million naira, over $3,000, or even 30,000 cedis. That's like $2,400 upfront. So usually it happens. If you're lucky with a nice landlord, then they extend your deadline for paying.
Well, many thanks, Ajoa, for that. Whether you are in Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, or anywhere else, I find this conversation around how we pay rent fascinating. Tell us, would you prefer paying rent monthly or yearly? And that's it for today. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and comment on the stories we highlight on this channel, DW Africa. My name is George Okachi.